More now than ever before in the world, women are burning out and they are burnt out. And this is by far the number one thing that I hear from the women that I coach and so many of the women that I connect with in the online space is that they feel incapable of creating or manifesting what they want in their life because they have no energy to do so. So in today's podcast episode, we are going to be talking about how you can avoid and or overcome burnout by reconnecting to your divine feminine energy. What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, the podcast that demystifies all of the nonsense that surrounds manifestation and gives you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, professional, and spiritual growth journey. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation and money mindset expert, and I'm so happy you're here. Let's fucking do this thing. Burnout has been one of the most challenging things that I have experienced personally in my life, and especially in my intentional manifestation journey over the past 4 years. So to kick off today's podcast episode, I'm going to be sharing my personal story of burnout with all of you and how I overcame burnout. But we're also going to be diving into why burnout happens in the first place, some signs/signals that you are on the verge of burnout or that you are already burnt out, and how to overcome burnout by reconnecting to your feminine energy. So, my personal story of burnout. As most of you probably already know, if you've been here listening to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, back in 2019, when I hit my rock bottom, I went balls to the wall on creating the change that was necessary in my life to be in a better, happier, healthier, wealthier position. And once I had done that, once I had created the shifts, created the changes, and had really implemented manifestation into my life to create a better life for myself, I never healed the limiting belief and the trauma that I had surrounding the, what I like to call, not enough wound. And what the not enough wound is essentially this limiting belief and these traumas that we experience that reaffirm that you are not enough, that who you are as a person, that you to your core are not enough, that in some way you are inherently flawed or you are not worthy of things in your life. And so for me, although I had really kickstarted my intentional manifestation journey and had been creating so many powerful changes, I had not healed the not enough wound. And so because I hadn't healed this, I was constantly living in this hyper masculine state, this very intense masculine energy of trying to do and hustle and force in my life to achieve more and fill that void, fill that wound of not enough. And I thought that if I could just hit my first $100,000 in business, that feeling of not enough would go away and I would finally be free to live the life that I wanted to live. And the reason that it was $100,000 is because growing up in my hometown, if you made six figures, you were ballin'. Like you were living a easy, breezy, beautiful, fun, abundant life if you were making six figures. And so to me, I always idolize and put six figures on the pedestal because I thought that if you got to that place that meant that everything in your life would be fixed, and from that point moving forward it would be smooth sailing. But again, if you've been here with me listening to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, you know this part of my story. And also, if you are new to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show and you do not know my story, I highly encourage you go back and listen to some of the podcast episodes because I was able to completely transform my life with intentional manifestation and get to the place where I am now the happiest, healthiest, wealthiest, most fulfilled version of myself that I have ever been using the power of intentional manifestation. But backtracking, that was a little side note. As you know, if you've been here listening to the podcast, that didn't work for me. So I ended up manifesting my first six figures in business within the first 10 months of starting my business. And it left me feeling even less safe, more confused, not enough than I ever had before, because reaching what I thought was this magical moment and magical place didn't actually change anything for me. And after that point, I ended up experiencing the most intense burnout that I had experienced in my life. And during that time, I could hardly wake up in the morning. I hated getting out of bed. I just had like this feeling of dread. And then once I did get up and got out of bed, the bare minimum that I could do was like make myself a microwave meal, sit down on the couch, put on Netflix, and numb out for hours. And on the days that I had coaching and all of the different things that I had going on, it was literally like forcing myself to show up for it. But I did. I continued to force myself to show up for it, which just continued to perpetuate this feeling of burnout in my life even further. And so I was in this just like complete, intense, almost debilitating burnout for 3 months. And then I started to have my old belief system of like, okay, Kat, get on with the show. You need to make it happen. You need to push forward. You need to keep going. Kick back in, which then I used as enough motivation to kind of pick myself up for a period of time and continue to move forward. But because I hadn't healed from this, because I didn't focus on healing that not enough wound during that period of time and after that period of time until later on in my journey, I then went back into living from this hypermasculine energy of trying to fill that void, continuing that cycle that I was trying to break away from in the first place. And eventually I got to the place where I was feeling so stuck and feeling like my mind was moving a million miles a minute, but my body was completely stuck. There was absolutely nothing that could like move forward for me anymore. And I reached my breaking point where I finally reached out for help and hired my life coach and started to heal this not enough wound. But as I was healing, I was still operating again from this hypermasculine energy and was approaching almost everything that I did in my life from the energy of force. And eventually, leading my life from the energy of force put me in the position that I started to experience some really intense health issues. So I had insane chronic acne, literally from like the top of my forehead all the way down to my neck, just completely covered in cystic acne. I had debilitating brain fog. I could not remember anything. Anytime I was going to do something, I would be caught in confusion and couldn't remember what it is that I was trying to move towards. I had the most insane exhaustion where I would wake up in the morning and have a really hard time waking up in the morning. Sometimes it would be after like 11 a.m. after going to bed at like 10 p.m. the night before, and still have such a hard time waking up, only be able to be up for like 2, 3, 4 hours before going back down for another nap, and then getting up after that, and really depending on caffeine to help me move through my day, as well as like weight loss resistance and just overall feeling so inflamed and disconnected and unsafe inside of my body. And this was the final breaking point for me, that I knew that I had to change the way in which I was moving and operating in the world. And this is where my journey of truly reconnecting with my body and with my feminine energy really started. And since then, I've been on a very intentional, very uncomfortable, but very, very rewarding journey of really coming back, like I said, to my feminine energy. And yes, there have still been moments of overwhelm or being overstimulated since reconnecting with my feminine energy, but there have never been any moments of burnout since then. And I share this with you, one, because I want you to know that you're not alone. If you are on this journey of creating your best life and doing everything that you possibly can to create the shifts and changes that you desire to see in your finances, in your relationships, your body, your work, whatever it may be. And it feels like no matter what you do, it isn't enough, and you are reaching that place of burnout, or you're already burnt out. I see you, and I was there too. Just like I shared with you, all of this happened for me while I was on this journey to create my best, most abundant life. And I didn't think that that was going to be part of this experience of manifesting my best, most abundant life. But because it was, I think it only perpetuated the healing and the things and the lessons that I needed to learn in order to now get to the place where I'm fully embodied in my feminine energy, and it allows me to move and operate in the world in a way that no longer will burn me out. And two, I share this with you because I want you to know that it is beyond possible to break this cycle of burnout in your life once and for all. And so with that being said, let's talk about some of the signs and signals that you will be experiencing in your life if you are burnt out or if you are on the verge of burnout, as well as why burnout is happening more so now than ever before, especially for women. But before we dive into that, I just want to let you know that enrollment for my new feminine embodiment program, The Source, is finally open. And this program has been specifically designed to help you heal from the things that have disconnected you from your inherent feminine essence and help you return home to yourself. What I will be teaching you inside of this program is everything that I have done to not only overcome burnout that I've experienced in my life, but also to truly be in a place that I am thriving. I am living my best, happiest, healthiest, wealthiest, most abundant, clearest life that I ever have. And the beauty in returning home to your inherent feminine essence is that the feminine energy is the energy of receiving and magnetism. So if you want to live a life that is more abundant and fulfilling, simply from just being your magnetic self and not constantly having to force or hustle or push to make it happen, then this is the program for you. You can find the link down below in the show notes to enroll directly from the webpage, and there are very limited spots available inside of this program to ensure that everybody who joins gets the highest level of support. So like I said, you can click the link down below in the show notes to go directly to the webpage, and you can enroll right from the webpage. As soon as you do, you will get access to the online portal and the support community. And the sooner you join, the sooner you get direct access to me and all of the support that you need to come home to your feminine essence. But with all of that being said, let's dive back into, like I said, some telltale signs that you are either already burnt out or you are on the verge of burnout. So some ways that you can tell this is that you have that tired but wired feeling. You're exhausted, but you're also wired. You feel this uncomfortable, anxious energy inside of you, or just like a buzzing inside of you that does not feel supportive. You have a hard time waking up, and or you wake up with a ton of anxiety. It feels like your mind is moving a million miles a minute, but your body is stuck. Just like I was saying in my experience, you may feel completely numb to life. You may feel like you are completely disassociated. You are numb. There's nothing that you're actually experiencing. You may just feel incapable of moving forward. You may be experiencing a lot of overthinking or have some really intense brain fog. You may be completely depleted of all of your energy, and life may feel like it's just lost its luster. And if you resonate with any of these things, again, I want you to know that I see you. I have been there. I've experienced all of these things in my periods of burnout. And again, I want you to know that there is a way to overcome this. But before we dive into how to overcome it, first I want to talk about why burnout is so common in the first place and why it's so common, especially for women. So the first reason is because women burn out more easily than men do biologically. And girls, I know it ain't fair, but it's literally biology. So inside of the female body, well, inside of all bodies, but we're going to talk specifically about women right here. We have what are called adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands are one of the first things that are signaled when you experience stress, because they are supposed to release hormones of adrenaline and cortisol to help give your body more energy to move through that stress response. This has a lot to do with your nervous system. It has a lot to do with how you experience stress on a day-to-day basis. But when you are constantly pushing yourself, your adrenal glands are then overactive. And after a period of time, when your adrenal glands are overactive, you will experience what's called adrenal fatigue, where the hormones that are typically supposed to be released aren't properly functioning, and therefore it leads to dysfunction inside of the body. And that's why you'll experience that exhaustion, that brain fog, or just constantly feel stressed, feel overwhelmed, feel like your mind is moving a million miles a minute, but your body is stuck, is because your adrenal glands aren't properly wiring and firing in the way that they typically do when you have time to rest, digest, and properly reset your body from the state of stress that you are under. So women's adrenal glands are just biologically more sensitive than a man's. So therefore, where a man can typically push forward, power forward, force their way through things, women simply cannot do the same thing without it paying a price on you physically, as well as then your physical state impacting your mental and emotional state. So that is reason one. Reason two is that there has never been more pressure in the world than there is right now for women to hustle and be hyper independent. And I believe that a few different movements are at cause for this, such as the third wave feminist movement, as well as the rise of personal development and this constant narrative of being in the position that you should be striving for more and more and more and pushing and hustling and creating in your life. And in addition to this, with social media's impact on how often we are fed these messages about not needing support in your life or needing to be hyper independent, all of the messages of being a strong, independent woman that don't need no man, taking that beyond just like the gender of not needing a man, but really just seeing this as like the fact that social media and these different movements are breeding a type of woman or a ideal for women that is not supportive to a woman's natural biological systems, structure, whatnot inside of her body. Because yes, I'm all for being independent. I'm an independent woman. Y'all have seen me on social media. You've seen the life that I've been able to create. And that is what led me to burnout in the first place. Since being able to identify that being in that hyper independent state and driving forward from the masculine energy majority of the time, that is what led me to being burnt out. And that is what is leading most women to being burnt out, is that they are living from their masculine energy and there is not enough time or space for them to reconnect to the feminine. And so this is where the conversation about how to overcome burnout or how to avoid burnout really comes into place. And very simply put, the key to overcoming burnout and the key to avoiding burnout in a woman's life is being primarily embodied in the feminine energy as often as you possibly can. And what I want you to think about with the feminine energy is that yes, the masculine is absolutely necessary. The masculine, the structure, the logic, the reasoning, the systems that exist in our lives in order for there to be like this sturdy foundation, that is necessary. I'm not saying that the masculine energy is a bad thing. In fact, I just want to riff on the fact that the masculine is 110% necessary and healthy to have in our lives in order to create peace, unison, harmony in your mind, body, and soul. But like I said, with a lot of these movements, the masculine energy has essentially been taken to an unhealthy place because femininity and the feminine energy has been given this very weak or unimportant lens and narrative surrounding it, which is actually so false. So, like I'm saying, the masculine energy is actually very necessary, but as a woman, majority of us have a feminine core. And this is on a spectrum. For all people, everybody, man, woman, non-binary people, we all have the feminine and masculine energies inside of us. But typically, as a woman, your core is primarily feminine. So for me, my core is about 80% feminine. 20% masculine, 80% feminine. So that means that 20% of masculine, the structures and systems and whatnot that I have in my life in order for it to have this solid foundation, that is so necessary for me to then be able to live and exist in my feminine energy the rest of the time. And by coming back to your feminine core, it will help you reconnect to the things that are most important to you, prioritize those things, and then feel nourished and replenished by those things. So I want to break this down in 3 different ways for you. This is how I am helping all of the women inside of my brand new program, The Source, because this is the place that you want to go if this message is resonating with you. The Source is going to be the thing that helps you overcome or prevent this burnout. But what you can start to identify and recognize in your life right now is 3 different ways that you can start to reconnect with your feminine energy to move away from this burnout. First one being reconnecting with your body. So the masculine energy is very much so a logic and practical based energy, which means that you are experiencing it often in your head. Whereas the feminine energy lives and exists in your body. So reconnecting with your body, getting back into your body, feeling your emotions, feeling the physical sensations associated to it, prioritizing what you are putting into your body in terms of the food that you are eating, the substances that you are drinking, and removing any toxins that are disconnecting you or causing disharmony inside of your body helps you reconnect with that feminine energy that is living and existing in your physical body. Second way I want you to look at this is by finding ways to reconnect to small moments of pleasure in your life. So if you're experiencing burnout or if you're on the verge of burnout, oftentimes it can feel challenging to reconnect to any sort of joy or pleasure in your life. But the feminine energy thrives on joy, thrives on pleasure. So look at your life right now and look at the ways that you can incorporate these small moments of pleasure and joy and play and creation in your life on a day-to-day basis, because that will start to nourish your soul and start to nourish the feminine energy inside of you. And the more that you nourish that energy, the more it will expand. And at first, this may feel like a very slow process, because if you're burnt out, you've most likely been very disconnected from your joy and pleasure for quite some time, and it's going to take some time to reignite that feminine flame inside of you and come back to a place where you are primarily living in that creative, intuitive, joyful, playful energy. But again, finding these small moments and prioritizing these small moments, whatever it may be making your favorite cup of tea or dancing a little bit when you're in the kitchen making your breakfast, swaying your hips around, looking at yourself in the mirror and admiring your beauty, having joyful, beautiful, intimate conversations with loved ones, cuddling with your partner or your animals, whatever it may be. Finding those moments of joy, finding those moments of pleasure, and incorporating them into your life as often as you possibly can. that will help you come back home to the feminine energy and spark that feminine flame inside of you, like I'm saying. And then the third way that I want you to really think about this and focus on reconnecting to your feminine energy is trusting in a higher power and trusting in the process of your life. Because again, the feminine energy is an embodied experience, whereas the masculine energy is typically driven from that logic and reasoning and is a mental game. So bringing it back down into the body, what you want to focus on is just being. Just being. And I know that sounds so simple, but for so many people, this is so challenging because, again, all of these movements, all of these narratives and agendas that we are given and that are pushed on us from society say that you should be doing. Go, 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 go. Hustle, 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 hustle. And for a lot of people, just being, just connecting with yourself, just connecting with faith in the fact that everything is temporary and that rest is necessary and that stillness is okay to experience, that stagnation is something that is okay to experience, that will help you reconnect to the source inside of you, the feminine inside of you, the divine inside of you, and carry you through that experience of burnout. And there are so many things that I have not mentioned on this podcast episode that, again, I'll be teaching you inside of the source that will help you not only overcome burnout, but prevent burnout and just really be connected to this feminine energy at all times so that this doesn't even have to be something that you think about moving forward. But these are 3 very powerful places that you can start. And like I've said many a times in this podcast episode, I really just wanted to share this with you to let you know that if you are burnt out, you are not alone. So many women are burnt out. The majority of women that I know in my life are burnt out. And it is because of these very intense societal pressures, norms, movements, whatnot, that we have been handed as women, and being able to reconnect to your inherent divine feminine essence will help you overcome all of those things so that you no longer have to be a part of the rat race, no longer have to be a part of the hustle, the grind, the toxic doing culture of always needing to do and produce, because the feminine energy, like I mentioned earlier on in this podcast episode, is the energy of receiving and the energy of magnetism. When you are reconnected with your feminine energy, you become a magnet for all that you desire in this life. So I've said it many a times, but this is exactly what I am teaching you inside of the source. So if this message has resonated with you, click the link down below in the show notes to enroll yourself in the source today. There are only 8 spots available at this point. The others have been already filled, and when you sign up, you will get instant access to the online portal as well as the support community group. And the sooner you join, the sooner you get that direct access to me and that support from me. So I highly suggest you join as soon as possible. But again, if this podcast episode resonates with you, I see you, I'm sending you my love, and I will chat with you on the next one.